Good evening, Beruchim Abayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. It's nice to be back after the holidays. I hope you all had a very happy Sukkot, and a super happy Simchat Torah, and an elevating Chat Shabbat Bereshit. Parashat Noach. Eile Toldot Noach. Parashat Noach is 1,656 years into the creation of the world. Second parasha of the Torah, and we already passed so many years, 1,656 years into the creation of the world. And already, mankind figured out a way to destroy society and to destroy the world. As time went by, mankind forgot who created them, and the emunah habiladit, the individual faith in God, started dwindling out. As a result, they looked for an alternative. When a person doesn't have Hashem in his life, he needs something else instead. And the alternative that they found themselves was a very shallow, lame alternative, which was called avodat elilim, avodah zarah, in all different formats. Amongst them, they began worshipping stars and the moon and other things, as Chazal HaKadoshim bring down. The relationship between those who kept some sort of ethical value and others that decided to leave all of that alone, hit an all-time low. I don't know if it's an all-time, because today maybe it hit lower, but at that point at least it was an all-time low as of then. Otherwise known as, not only were the mitzvot, meaning the commandments that a guy was obligated to do even then, not kept, but even the basic values of ethics, the basic ethical values of society, also got destroyed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't leave the world in that way, and obviously wasn't so happy. Chazal HaKadoshim teach us that at first, there wasn't a flood in the entire world. There was a flood that covered 1/3 of the world. We learned that in Rashi HaKadosh, in Bereshit Perek Vav Pasuk Daled. Rashi says over there that even after the people of the times of Noach saw that 1/3 of the world was destroyed, and through a flood, they still didn't want to realize that God runs the world and He chooses the way things should run. So therefore, afterwards, God had to up the ante. My uncle Rav Nissim Alav Shalom used to say a parable that we quoted many, many times. He said, when somebody faints, it's not safe to keep him in that state. You have to wake him up. So first, you pour cold water. If that doesn't work, then you slap him up a little bit. If that doesn't work, then the medics put electric shocks to his heart. Boom. See if we can wake him up. If that doesn't work, you call the Cheva Kadisha, they bring a black Cadillac, and they put some cement on top of him a few hours later. So first Hashem went and put water on 1/3 of the world. When that didn't work, He continued. And that's how the Mabul came about. That's the way Rashi explains it. But it didn't happen right away. It actually happened a while later. But on this, there is a very tough question that's brought down in the Sfarim. This is a direct contradiction to that. The Torah says in the Pasuk, in Dvarim, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Yud Zayin, Va'avadtem mehira, they will be destroyed quickly. So Rashi brings down, Eino noten lehem orka. God doesn't give a lengthening of sentencing, or until the execution of sentencing. V'im tamu v'alo noten lehem orka ledor ha'mabul. By Dor HaMabul, God did wait 120 years. Noach built the Teva. He waited a pretty long time over there. Shneimar v'ayu yamav 120 shana. So comes Rashi and says, why did God wait by Dor HaMabul 120 years? But over here in the Pasuk it says Va'avatem me'era, that God doesn't wait. Seems to be a direct contradiction. Comes Rashi and answers, because Dor HaMabul lo haya lahem mimi lilmod. The generation of the Mabul didn't have anybody to learn from. This is a big yisod, that when somebody doesn't have who to learn from, so we hold them less accountable. When somebody has who to learn from, then we hold them more accountable. For example, when I speak for Israelis in Israel, this is very common. So they tell you, Abba Shali hayat tzaddik gadol, Saba Shali arav harashi. My father was a great tzaddik, and my grandfather, forget about it, he was the chief rabbi. So my first question to that statement is, am I maneched? And what's with the grandson? And my second thing is, next time, don't tell that to anybody. Till next time, say your father was a gangster and your grandfather was a criminal. So they said, why? Why would I do that? I said, we learn it from Chazal and the Psukim. Yaakov Avinu said a very interesting prayer. Shimon v'Levi achim klei chamas mecherotehem. This was supposed to be a blessing. What's the blessing? It seems like almost a musar and a curse together. He said at the end of his life, he squared up with Shimon and Levi for killing out the whole city of Shechem, even though they had the right to do it. They took their sister captive, and they wanted to free their sister. Still, Yaakov Avinu didn't like their way of going about it. Klei chamas mechirotehem. This way of doing things is not the Jewish way. It's klei chamas. And then he says, Arura pam kiyaz. He curses them. Their anger is cursed. I want nothing to do with it. But there's also a few other words there. Bikalam al tavon nafshi. My soul shouldn't come amongst their gatherings. What does that mean his soul shouldn't be amongst their gatherings? So Chazal say that he said a prayer. What was the prayer? That one day Levi is going to have a great grandson who's going to be Korach. And Korach is going to go fight Moshe Rabbeinu. As a result, God's going to have to change the nature of the world and open up the ground to swallow him and his people alive with all their belongings. And then the Torah says the story, if you learn Parashat Korach. So over there we say, Korach ben Yitzhar, we give his lineage, and it stops by Levi and it doesn't go to Yaakov Avinu. So that was a prayer that Yaakov Avinu already said before he died, years and years before, that when the Torah goes and says the lineage of Korach, Bikalam al tavon nafshi, I don't want to be mentioned as the father of Levi. So the Mefarshim asked, they don't get it. It's a catch-22. Are you the great-grandfather or not? If you are, what do we care if we mention it or not? If you're not, then what does it make a difference? What was his prayer? What, he was embarrassed? He wasn't embarrassed. What was the problem over here? So the Mefarshim all say the same answer. Amongst them, the Magid Midubna writes this answer. He said he says that he didn't curse Shimon and Levi. He gave Levi then the biggest blessing. He said, Levi, I'm blessing you that one day when your grandchildren mess up, and Hashem is very, very angry to the point that he has to go open the ground and make a special miracle, my name shouldn't be mentioned. Because if my name's mentioned, then they're going to judge them as grandchildren of Yaakov Avinu. And if they had a grandfather like Yaakov Avinu, and this is what became of them, oy va'avoy, they're in big trouble. So we're going to forget about who their grandfather is. And like this, that's going to save them and allow at least the offsprings to be able to continue. That's Biglal Avot Toshia Banim. Sometimes because of the father, the Schut Avot saves the son. And sometimes Biglal Avot, because the father's not such a tzaddik, that also saves the son. Because Haram, what do you want from the kid? He had nobody to learn from. So, based on this, we have to understand. On one hand, Rashi in Dvarim says the reason why God waited 120 years by Noach was because they didn't have where to learn from. On the other hand, we quoted Rashi in Beishit. This is just the opposite. That when they saw a third of the world getting destroyed, and they didn't see that it's serious, so then Hashem said, okay, we'll bring a Mabul on the whole world. So how do these two things get together? So this is not my question, this is the question of the Holy Siftei Chachamim. The Siftei Chachamim in Sefer Dvarim on this writes a few words, I'm going to quote them word for word, bli neder. Yesh lomar, we can say, Shisvurim hayu, they thought, Shehaya mikre be'alma. Because it was a one-time incident that there was such a flood, they can think that this was just chance, nature, a natural disaster, as they would call it today. Kivan shelo hitzif ela shlisha olam. It was only a third of the world that got flooded. Fine, so a tsunami came around. But once, what happened one time, and now God's saying it's happening a second time already is not a mikre ba'alma, is not already a chance, that's already a serious thing. And if you don't take it serious, then at that point, it's an issue. From this, the Chachamim give us a very big musar. Sometimes a person has a situation which, something goes wrong in his life. So he says, okay, I'm having an unlucky day. This is not my day. Bad luck today. So if it's a one-time occurrence, even though it's really not, there's no such thing as luck. Israel is above luck. But Hashem says, no, he thinks it's nature, it's this, it's that, I can't blame him. We let it go. But if the guy has already a second problem, and then he still doesn't wake up and say, wait a second, what does Hashem want from me? Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes after him and says, wait a second. One time, nothing. Second time, also nothing. That's not a good idea. One time, a person can still get away with that excuse. Yeah, natural. It happens. It's a normal thing to happen. When it already becomes a consistent problem, so that's normally a little bit of a wake-up call. That's the first yesod that we learned from this parasha, which is a very deep yesod. The second yesod that I want to bring out from this parasha is sometimes people come to you, or we come to ourselves and use this as an excuse for later. I say, what do you want from me? Keep a little more mitzvot, a little less. I'm a good person. I have a good heart. Hebrew goes better. Usually lev tov. Lev tov. I was once by a funeral of a guy. It was Hashem Yirachim, what type of person he was. But I had to attend the funeral because his family members all did tshuva, and at the end of the day I had to respect them. But the guy himself, whatever. He ordered many, many hits in his life and did a lot of things that Hashem Yirachim we should never know. But the family, many of them were chozayim in tshuva, so they encouraged them. I went. And I heard one guy get up to speak over there, and they said, Ayalo kazel lev tov. He had such a good heart. I didn't realize people were right near me paying attention to what my response was going to be. I mumbled under my breath, but unfortunately people heard it. I said, En lo lev vav. There's no heart. It's buried. It's over. What lev tov? Lev tov is a nice excuse for as long as somebody's around for a few days. But after that, then what? Lev tov. A Nissim once told me that he thinks that the reason why the number one killer, I think they say in the United States of America, is cardiac conditions. If we generalize all cardiac conditions. That surpasses cancer and other things as well. So Nissim said, why cardiac conditions? Hashem wants there's many ways that it could be. It doesn't have to be cardiac. There's quicker ways to do it. Why cardiac? He said, there's nothing to do with Hashem. It has to do with the people. Their heart can't handle life. Doesn't mean their heart can't handle life. He says, you ask a guy, put on tefillin, he says, Ani Yehudi balev, I do it in my heart. Keep Shabbat balev, kosher balev, everything. The heart can't handle the pressure, it collapses. That's why there's so many cardiac conditions. He said if they would put on tefillin on their hand and tzitzit on their body and each mitzvah in the right place, the heart would be able to function. Everything would be all right. We wouldn't have so many cardiac conditions. That's not me. That's Rabbi Nissim Alav Shalom and his sharp word. But today there's a misconception that it's possible to be a good person without keeping Torah mitzvot. I want to say it as it is for once and for all. Somebody who doesn't keep Torah mitzvot, he could be a good person in potential, like every human is. But it didn't happen yet. It's a little work in progress. It's going to develop as it goes. Because Ben Adam LaMakom and Ben Adam LaChavero go hand in hand. And if you don't have Ben Adam LaMakom, at the end you don't have Ben Adam LaChavero either.
How do you explain it to someone who uses it?
To explain it very simple. I think it was the beginning of the 1970s, otherwise the end of the 1960s. Somebody correct me please on the exact date because I don't remember. They tried a doctor, if I remember correctly, based out of Chicago, for killing a patient on something that he called a patient-assisted death. Otherwise known as he pulled a plug. And they tried him for murder. That's what they did to the guy. I don't remember the exact details. Whoever remembers should please tell me. What?
Dr. Kevorkian.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Kevorkian. There we go. So now we got the info. So when was he? You remember the year also? Chaval. That would help me too. Okay, you'll Google it later. Unless you got a kosher phone already after Rosh Hashanah, Baruch Hashem. But in case you still have the other one, you'll Google it. But anyway, they tried this guy for murder, for helping a patient die. We're not that many years after that, right? How many years are we after that? We didn't even cross the 50 mark yet. And today, patient-assisted death is a common practice that's not only legal, but almost encouraged in many situations. And
it's not a common.
it's a common practice to pull a plug on a guy who's living off of life support.
I'm a doctor. If the family wants it.
Yeah, if the family wants it.
If the patient wants it also.
Yeah. So that's a common practice. People today don't want to suffer, so they write an end-of-life thing that if I ever get to the situation that I'm not, that I can't function.
You're not doing it against his will. That's the point. It's not like the doctor does it against the patient's will.
No, he's doing it with his will. I'm not saying against the will, with his will. He asked for it. He wrote a legal document saying, I don't want to live like a vegetable, pull the plug on me. I don't want to live like that. Api halacha, it's not so simple. Probably it's murder, it's ritzicha. What changed that years ago, this was considered, nobody would think of this. And today, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a normal thing. Why not? Not only that, there's some doctors that say, a guy told me, he says, this is my greatest act of kindness. I take the guy out of his suffering. So I asked him, where do we draw the line? Somebody who's depressed in a psychiatric unit and tried to attempt suicide 16 times. Why don't we help him die too? There are countries that do it, by the way, already. Why don't we help him die? He's depressed. He doesn't want to live. Get him out of his suffering. Somebody who just went through a tragic divorce and as a result he feels he has no future. Maybe we should help him also. Somebody suffers from a bad addiction. Maybe we should help him go also. So how do we draw the line? Based on what? So the line is drawn based on what the government considers financially viable or not. That's what it narrows down to. When the workforce was, we needed people in society, so we kept them. When we don't need people in society, so we let them go. That's pretty much what it narrows down to. It's a very harsh truth that it's very hard for science to admit to, because that's against all scientific laws and rules and against the ethical code officially. But the ethical code changes every 10 years. So obviously there is no code. Because if it was ethical, it would have not changed. We say 5,777 years. La'aleinu da'apikosim say billions of years. It should have not changed for billions of years, this ethical code. If an ethic can change, so it's not an ethic. By definition, it's not an ethic. What does that mean? That if there's no bin adam lamakom, if there's no bin adam lamakom, if there's nothing between man and God, there's no higher force that dictates what ethics are, so then in this world there's no ethics. It goes hand in hand. And this has nothing to do with Jewish or not. This goes straight across the universe. I'm not going to say 100% because it's not 100%, but the mass majority of mass murderers in society were people that, on one level or the other, were Darwinism theories, people that believe in Darwinism. For example, Hitler. Because if you believe in a higher power, so you don't have the right to take somebody else's power. If you don't believe in a higher power, so if your belief is that the world will be a better place without somebody else, so then you think you can justify doing whatever it is that you do. The first time that this happened in history was in Parashat Noach. Parashat Noach, this happened first time. What happened in Parashat Noach? God went to a pretty big extreme. God is the God of love. He doesn't go do such things. Why did such an extreme? And not only that, obviously, this is not something that's a God practice at all, because God vowed He would never do it again either. When do you vow that you'll never do something again? If you won the lottery, would you vow I'll never win the lottery again? I would want to say, let's hope I get lucky twice. And recently I read an article in a paper that there was one girl who won 2 lotteries in 1 week. New Jersey? I live in Jersey. Oh, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Out of all places, that's what happened. I didn't know. I read an article somewhere randomly. She beat the odds. I don't know what the statistical odds are, so I don't want to make up numbers. But I'm sure that they're very far-fetched to be able to do that. Some crazy thing. That means if something good happens to you, you vow you'll never get it again, you'll never do it again. No, you vow you'll do it again. So if God vowed that He's never bringing a flood again to the world that's going to destroy the world, what does that mean? That God Himself viewed it as something that ultimately we wish we wouldn't have to do. And that's why He said, let's make a promise that this will never happen again in society. So what was the big issue? So the simple understanding is that when man had no respect for man anymore, so at that point what's left? Not only that, Chazal teach us even the animals didn't have loyalty anymore. There was nothing left. But it goes a lot deeper. Where did that start from? It didn't start from people being bad, because people are not bad. People are good by nature. Today, unfortunately, there's so much negative in the world that every person we see, we first suspect that he's a criminal. Then, it used to be innocent till proven guilty. Today it became guilty till proven innocent. That's the way the world runs, more or less. Yeah, they might not admit to it, but look at the media. Guy gets arrested for the worst thing. Shalom Aleichem, we should never know. The media says, guy, they called him a murderer already. What murderer? What happened to innocent till proven guilty? But today's world, it's so dark, it's so depressive. Everybody sees everything black. So black, yeah, murderer, that, anything negative. And when finally a guy does something good, they first have to verify before they can publicize the story. They have to verify if he gave charity or not, if he did something. The Torah goes the opposite way. The Torah says love everybody and give him the benefit of the doubt. Give him the benefit of the doubt. You're a good guy, period. Who are you? What are you? Who cares? You're a good guy. That's what counts. How does that work? So it says in the Pasuk, Ve'avta l're'acha kamocha ani Hashem, right? Ve'avta l're'acha kamocha, we all understand. A person should love, we have to love every person. Ve'avta l're'acha kamocha. But the last 2 words are ani Hashem. What does that mean? So Chazal ask, by the way, in Rabbi Yaakov Yagen, Hashem Yinkom Damo, in Kovetz Ha'arot, discusses this at great length. He says a different answer than I'm going to say now. He says, how can you command somebody to love somebody else? I either love you, or I don't. Command me to love somebody. I don't love you. Now what? Love is a feeling, it's an emotion. Command me, force me to love you, I don't love you. It's like when some people don't like sushi. There are some people still left in the world that don't like sushi. So you tell them you have to develop a taste for it. For some reason, kids don't have to develop a taste for potato chips. I wonder what the difference is. You have to learn how to like something. No, I don't like it. It's not my taste. This I like, this I don't like. Torah says, love everybody. What do you mean love everybody? I don't love you. You're not my type. You rub my nerves the wrong way. Happens. Never had anybody in your life that rubbed your nerves the wrong way? I had. Sometimes you're around people and they rub your nerves. And the Torah says that shouldn't be. So the Torah gave you some sort of irrational fantasy. So Rabbi Yaakov Yagen has his explanation that we spoke about years ago. But tonight I saw a new explanation, a wonderful sefer called Imrei Chen on Bereshit and Parashat Noach. He says, that's why the pasuk ends off 2 more words, Ani Hashem. Hashem tells a person, naturally, in the way you understand the science of a person and the science of the heart and the mind, there is no way. You just love a person. It doesn't work like that. How can I tell you to love somebody else? Ani Hashem. I, God who made you in a way that if you really want to, there is a way to love somebody right away. That means that there's a special haftacha, a special promise, a special blessing that comes along with this thing of that's Ani Hashem, because Hashem says, because it's my mitzvah, I also created you, I programmed it in a way that it could do this and this. Let's bring it down to terms that we can understand better. If you get a computer, even if you get an expensive computer, can it do everything for you? No. It can do based on what you give it to do. Meaning, whether it's the softwares that you put in, the things that, whatever you put in, you have your phone. You download certain apps, now you can do more things than you were able to do before. Without the apps, you couldn't do them. Does that mean the phone can't do it? The phone can do it. You just have to have the right tools inside. Hashem made a person. Naturally, a person wouldn't be able to love others. Hashem said, but I am the one who's programming you. So if you want to keep the mitzvah, Ani Hashem, I'll program you in a way that you should be able to keep the mitzvah. But that only happens if you want to keep the mitzvah. That's the chiddush. If you don't want to love people, Hashem never programs you in a way that you should love. If you're a person who wakes up in the morning and says, God, I want to be able to love everybody. It's just me. I want to be able to love everybody. The world's a better place that way. So Hashem gives you a special power that even those who maybe otherwise would be hard to love, suddenly you love. Suddenly you love. And the biggest proof to that, it's not proof really, but a classic example to that is a mother to her kid. It's nice and dandy to say it's part of her, it's her child. At the end of the day, let's be real. This kid just took away her whole life for 9 months straight. Took away everything that she wanted. Her job, her looks, her physical comfort. She was busy puking and heartburn and every other discomfort that came along the way. And then after that, labor, another whole scene. And that's assuming that the labor was relatively easy. And if not, it even ended up in the surgery and other complications. And then at one point or the other, they take this baby and they give it to the mother. And she holds him. And every mother does the same thing. I love you. You love me. You just ruined my life. I hate your guts. That's something that everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to love their children. Ani Hashem. Hashem says, even though rationally it makes no sense, I'll give you the power that right away you should be able to love. I'll give it to you. Dora Mabul didn't want to love people. They wanted to live for themselves. Leave me alone. Let me do whatever I want. Bug off. Don't tell me that. I have to care about what your problem is. I have to help you. If you have a problem, go and jump. That's your issue. It's not mine. Recently I saw a poster that horrified me. Don't consider somebody else's problems yours. Everything that Judaism stands for is the opposite extreme of that. If somebody else has a problem, yeah, it's your problem. Go figure out a way to make it your problem, to make sure that the problem goes away. Go put your heart and soul to that problem. But again, that's the game of ethics. Because Baruch Hu says a generation that doesn't even care about each other. And the indication of not caring about each other is the fact that they were stealing from one another. If a person's willing to steal, so at that point that means he has no respect for the other person's property. He has no respect for the other person's property. Kavachom, you have no respect for the person himself. You have nothing. There's nothing left. At that point Hashem said, this is already a dead end. This is an unbelievable dead end. Because there's a young gentleman here who identified himself as a doctor, I'll share with you a story of a doctor this week. I was in Pittsburgh. Not in Pittsburgh, near, whatever. And I had to take care of something. And it involved getting a very big favor done from a doctor. And I was warned by people that know the staff over there that this guy is on a high horse and it's very hard to get him to accommodate. I said, because you said that, I think the opposite is true. So what do you mean? I said, don't be judgmental. This guy's been around for years. People abuse doctors all day. He's burnt out. But now we'll show him that just because others were bad, we don't have to be bad. We could be dignified people. And let's see what we could do. So I called the guy, and I got his cell phone number in a way, not a way. I don't know if that was right or wrong. And he picked up his phone. He said, who are you? I told him who I am. And he said, what do you want? So I said, listen, I want to annoy you a little bit. And honestly, what I'm doing is not fair. And it's not right. And you have the right to be upset. And you even have the right to hang up on me, and you did nothing wrong because you'd be right. But what should I do? On the other line, there's a Jewish mother crying. And my heart's going out for her. And the best I can do is to annoy you. Now, you deserve to be compensated for being annoyed. So once this conversation's done, whether you help me or not, it doesn't make a difference. Tell me how I can make it up to you, because at the end of the day, annoying you wasn't fair. But at least this much, hear me out. He says, get to the point. What do you need? I said, there's a kid, this and this is the story. He's going to go into this and this hospital. I heard you're the best in this field. I need you to check in tomorrow morning. And if a medical procedure is done, I want you, not your students, not anybody else, to be the one to do this procedure. He said, yeah, I was approached by that a few times in the past week, and I'm not interested. I said, thank you very much. I tried. Now let's do the second part. Tell me what I owe you. Look, I wasted your time. I called you on your cell phone. It's not so nice. I did this. I want to square it up with you. What can I do to compensate you for what I just did? It tells me nothing. Big deal. You asked. I answered. Have a good day. I said, by me, it doesn't work like that. I don't like when people bother me, so why would I want to bother you? So if a person bothers me and then does something for me, fine. So I said, okay, it was worth it. At least I got something out of it. So I need you to get something out of me. What can you get out of me? So he tells me, tell me a good joke. I said, honestly, the one thing I don't know how to do is saying jokes. You got the wrong guys. Pick anything else you want. So then, I don't know, I guess something happened there. He liked the conversation. We started getting into the conversation. Suddenly he had time and patience. We spoke for like 5 minutes. And I insisted on my point because I really think that that's the truth. You bothered somebody, show him his appreciation. At the end of the conversation, he tells me, you know what, I don't know who you are, kid. But let's make a deal. I'll take care of this patient and you come visit me one day. So I'm curious what you are. You're a little different. I said, yeah, I'm one of those weird ones. So I called back the mother. I said, the guy says he's going to be there tomorrow morning. He's going to do everything. She said, what do you mean? But everybody said he won't. I said, no, you don't get it. You treat people in a hostile way, so they treat you back in a hostile way. Because what do you want? They have to put up a defense at that point. Treat people like people. Respect people for... The doctor's not allowed to have a life. He's not allowed to go to sleep at night because you need him for your son. He also has a life. Show him that you care about him, and he'll care about your son. Otherwise, he has no reason to care. Oh, that's the point. Sometimes when I see the way some medical staff is abused in hospitals that I volunteer in, I pity them. I go to the local donut shop. I buy them, something to make their day sweeter. Chocolates, donuts, whatever I can bring them. And they tell me, what's this for? I said, I have no kid here. I'm not trying to bribe you. I have no bias. I have no nothing. Just if somebody would have spoke to me the way somebody just spoke to you, I would have punched them in the face. And if you didn't do that, you're a hero. So heroes, I like giving things to. And Baruch Hashem, through that, a lot of people accommodated me in a lot of ways over the years. That wasn't the reason why I did it. I really did it because I feel bad. In the service industry, when you go into a cab, right, today we don't use cabs anymore, Ubers, you have an opportunity to make a Kiddush Hashem. The guy, if he has to drive for a living, so he's not Bill Gates yet. Hopefully one day he'll be, but yet. So he's struggling as it is. So now he needs to struggle more, that you should be yelling on your cell phone in his car and he should have a headache from it. Or that you forgot to close his door, now he has to get out to close the door. Or that you don't even care to tip him $1 when he saw a keep on you and he says stingy Jews. And the list goes on. That's not, but if there's a problem like that, it doesn't come from a problem like that, it comes from something that's much deeper. That means the Ben Adam HaMakom is not there. If we would be square with God, we'd be square with people too. Because God, everything about God is to be square with people. Everything Hashem preaches is to be square with people. And if somebody's lacking in his Ben Adam HaChavero, he has to ask himself, where in my Ben Adam HaMakom am I going wrong? And that was the mistake of the Dor HaMabur. When they didn't understand the idea that the Ben Adam HaMakom is what's going to create the Ben Adam HaChavero, that's where things went wrong. How old was Noach when he had his first child? 500 years old, Chazal say. 500 years old. So 500 years old. Chazal asked a question. Until then, everybody had kids about 100 years old. Avraham Avinu, that. They were at the old age, in the range of 100. He went to 500. What happened, this big jump? And then the age went right back down immediately afterwards. What happened to this big jump? Why suddenly Noach was the one person who had a child at such an old age? Once a guy told me, he says, see how irrational the Torah is? 500 years old, he had a kid. That's crazy. Medically, it's impossible. I told him, I agree with you. But I said, let me give you an example. Does every doctor know every field in medicine? No. One guy knows this, one does. Does every lawyer know every field in law? We have guys here that are lawyers. One guy knows criminal law, one guy knows this. You learn general law in school, but at the end of the day, you specialize in one area. I said, you specialize in asking questions. The Torah specializes in giving answers. This is not your specialty. When you'll get your specialty, you'll understand this too. You know, everything comes at the right time. I said, no, I also have one more difference. I said, the medical journals change their minds, rightfully so, thank God. They advance drastically every year. It's unbelievable. The world's coming very close to already what God said is His territory. What they can do today in medicine is admirable to such great extremes. But it changes. It's constantly advancing. The Chumash never changed. So the consistent story is in the Chumash. They stuck to their story from day one, all the way. Jews went for 1,900 and whatever years scattered around the world. They came back. They still had the same Chumash. Not one letter changed. There was a reason for that. Comes Rashi and says, why did Noach have a kid at 500 years old? Because society was so corrupt that a person gets affected by society. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want Noach to have kids that are going to be affected by society. But he wanted him to have kids. So to protect him, he waited for the time of the Mabul, when at that time society started again and wasn't as corrupt anymore. And like this, he was at that point he was already able to have kids. And this the Rambam writes, that a person should be aware that his surroundings are going to directly influence him. And therefore, if he can't find healthy surroundings, he should isolate himself. It's better to be isolated than to be around unhealthy surroundings. Because what you see, and what you're around, and what you're exposed to is what you become. Whether you like it or not. Take somebody who has the highest class way of living, with the fanciest vocabulary, graduated the best Ivy League school, and has an unbelievable career and everything else. Put him together with people that live a life that's not on that level, whether it's intelligence or their way of speaking or whatever else. Wait 6 months and see how you're going to hear him talk. Suddenly all different words that a few months ago he would swear that he would never use, he uses. Did he become a bad person? No. Were the other people bad people? Not either. But a person becomes influenced by his surroundings. That's the way it is. To the good too. It goes both ways. And that's why the Rambam writes clearly that the Rambam takes it to an extreme. He says if a person's living in a city and the surroundings is not good, he should move cities. What if he moved cities and the next place wasn't that good either? So the Rambam goes through a few steps and then at the end he says he should go move to the desert. Imagine today somebody told you, you know what, I'm moving to the desert. You say, why? So I want to be, in a clean surrounding. You would say Majnun, not normal guy. What's this guy's problem? Just the Rambam writes. So here's a story. Obviously it's not practical on a day-to-day, but it's a theoretical story to understand that the Gedolei Olam that took the Rambam seriously. Once Abramsky, I think it was, went to visit the Briskerov. He knocked on his door, and the Briskerov didn't answer right away. Abramsky needed him, so he knocked and knocked and knocked. I think it was Abramsky. He knocked a bunch of times, still the Briskerov answered. Finally, when the Briskerov answered, the Briskerov was out of breath. So he told the rabbi, why you have breath? You're not feeling well? I woke you up. What happened? I'm sorry. Mechila, forgive me. I didn't mean to do anything like this. So he said, no, I had to move a whole bunch of things to let you in. So he said, what do you mean? So the Briskerov showed him a whole pile of sandbags on the side. So he says, what's this? There's no war now. You don't need sandbags in your house. Everything's fine. He says, no. The Rambam says that if the environment's not good, you should move to a desert. He said, across the street from my house, they opened up a Beit Toivah. So really, I have to move. He says, but I'm old and I'm weak and that. I don't have strength to move to the desert now. So I decided to bring the desert to my dining room. He had sandbags all the way up in his house. Shkiro, he didn't live long ago. It's an unbelievable thing. I think today our sandbags is putting a filter on our computers and our phones. That's our version of moving to the desert. Just to be on the safe side. And it's a catch-22. If you're not doing anything wrong, so what do you care? What does it make a difference? And if you do care, so then you should care double. Like otherwise, so then we're in a problem. It's catch-22. What do you care? The biggest joke is somebody's filters ask you, is it for 13-year-olds? What age range? You could pick which age. What, somebody who's 18 could watch this and who's 13 can't? Torah doesn't say that. Ethics are ethics for everybody. The ethics that I want to give my 3-year-old, I want to give myself, and my grandfather who's 90 wants to give me as well. We stick to the same thing. It doesn't make a difference. We practice what we preach. Interesting point. I never understood the ratings in the movies because of that. PG this, PG that. If it's okay to watch, it's okay for everybody, and if not, not. But when man has to do what works for bank accounts, so then at that point, we say, don't confuse me with the facts. Because Baruch Hu said it's worth keeping Noach without kids till 500 years old, just for the sake of his kids being born into a healthy environment. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Now, we go to the next part of Noach's life. The Torah says something which Rashi brings down the two ways to understand. Noach was Tamim Haya Bedorotav. He was considered righteous in his times. What does that mean in his times? So one part of Rashi says, there's one opinion, that Yesh Dorshim L'Shvach, Yesh Dorshim L'Gnai. Some people say it's a compliment, others say it's maybe a little bit of an insult. What does that mean? Either that it's a big compliment, that he was a big tzaddik, and that was against all odds, even though the environment in his generation was terrible, he was still somehow able to beat the odds and stay a tzaddik against everything. The other way of looking at it is because he was around such corrupt people, so he was a tzaddik. But if he would have been around righteous people, then nobody would have considered him a tzaddik. That's like a child, a teenage child, who left a note for his father one day. Dear Dad, there's nobody in the world who I love more than you, so I wanted to share my feelings and plans with you in advance. I decided to move out of the house and move in with my girlfriend. And then he elaborates that his girlfriend is pregnant. He's 15. And B'Shat Tova, they're waiting for a baby. And they're hoping that they'll be able to raise them together wonderfully in a trailer park that they're going to live in. And no, I'm not against anybody that lives anywhere. Today you have to be careful what you say, right? 2 minutes later, oh, he's a racist, he's a this, he's that. I love everybody. Everybody. Doesn't make a difference. You want to live in the zoo, in the safari, wherever you want, do it. Just go. As long as you're happy, that's what counts. Mitzvah gedeh lias b'simcha. But at the end of the day, this is what he writes to his father. And hopefully we're going to make enough money combined to support my wife's medication, and in parentheses he writes heroin. And one day we hope to find a cure for our disease, and in parentheses he writes HIV. And we hope to see you one day, come visit us. This is roughly the area we're going to be living in, love. And he signs his name. Father comes home from work and reads this letter. You could imagine, he almost needed an ambulance in 3 seconds. This is what my son's letter, I didn't notice. The bottom of the letter, it says, turn over the paper. He turns over the page. On the other side of the page it says, P.S. Dad, none of the above is true. I'm just hanging out by my buddy Josh. But when you find out from my teacher that I only got a 40 on my test today, it's not so bad after all. That's not mine. Somebody sent it to me on WhatsApp one day. This is Rashi. They stole it from Rashi, this idea. Rashi says, Yesh doshim l'gnai. Of course you say he's righteous. Look what he was around. What was the alternative? To be a lowlife. So he wasn't a lowlife. Big deal. What? If he would have been in the generation of Avraham Avinu, he wouldn't exist. But Yesh doshim l'shvach. Some people say just the opposite. What's going on in this rush? Make up your mind. So is it shvach or is it gnai? What is it? And again, the rabbis are arguing. They can't stop arguing, these rabbis. All day long arguing. This, that, this. Make up your mind. What do you want? So it was the altar from the Varduk in a sefer called Madrigat Adam, in a Ma'amar Tkufat Ha'olam, I think it's Bet. So the Alter from the Vardik, the Sal from the Vardik over there writes an unbelievable thing. He says Chazal are making comparisons between Noach and Abraham in such a shallow way to understand the Torah. In general, all these type of questions come from a very shallow understanding of the Torah. The Chazal are coming to analyze a person. There's two ways that a person can come to a conclusion to make the right choice. Either by seeing what the alternative is, or by understanding why the right choice is the right choice. That means two guys didn't kill. One guy didn't kill because he understands, who am I to take somebody else's life, no matter what I think or feel about it. And the other guy doesn't kill because his brother or cousin is sitting in prison for murder, and he doesn't want to end up in prison also. So as a result of the threat that's holding against him, he doesn't kill, doesn't do crime. What's the difference? One is an elevated person who worked on himself to understand life and to understand rights and wrongs, and the other one is in a robot who by default, I don't want to get into that mess, so what should I do? Two guys drive on the highway. One guy sticks to somewhat of the vicinity of the speed limit. I know that's a broad term by young people. And the reason why he does it is because he understands, why risk my life and other people's lives in case, God forbid, something goes wrong? In general, it doesn't go wrong. Everything's fine. But the 1 in a million that it might, for what? Who needs this extra adventure? It's just silly. Life is worth more than that. The other guy doesn't do it because 2 days ago, he had lights and sirens behind him, and now he has to go to court with an 8-point ticket. And he's not interested in dealing with waters. The lawyer's expensive. So one guy does it because to him, it's actually a way of life. It's something important. The other guy does it because I got no choice. This is what I got to do. The Alter says, what's the difference between these two people? A person who does things because there's no choice, his whole life is gnai. It's one big suffering. Oof, I have to go to work. I hate my job. I hate this. What did I get married for? What do I need kids for? What are this? What are that? Because everything's out of force. Nothing's out of... He doesn't believe it. He doesn't feel it. He doesn't live it. He doesn't want it. Everything's against what he wants. What should you do? You got to pay your bills. He has no choice. You got to go to work. You got to do this. You got to... Everything's like that. Hashem doesn't want a person to live like that because it's a very morbid, miserable life. Why would you want to live that way? Hashem tells you, Yesh doshim l'gnai, Yesh doshim l'shvach, be a person who lives a life of shvach, be mishabeach yourself, better yourself, elevate yourself. That's exactly what it said. It's called Madrigat Adam. Madriga means a step. Start walking the ranks of the ladder, stepping your way up, step by step. To elevate yourself to the point that you understand, that you feel, that you live, that it means something to you. That you're passionate about the reason why you wake up in the morning. That there's actually a person behind it and a rhyme and a reason for what you're doing. And then at that point, your life is shvach. It's actually a happy life to live. It's such a better way to live. It's so much smarter. How do you pick a profession to go into? So today, to have a good profession, in general, not always, but in general, you pick a school that you want to go to and what subject you're going to study. Some people do it based on whatever their mother wants them to be. My mother wants me to be a lawyer, which I got to be a lawyer. I have a first cousin once removed. He graduated Harvard Law with a lot of honors many years ago. And he didn't even work one day. He became a insurance broker right after. And he's an extremely, extremely wealthy man, a very famous man today. And I once asked him, he's not young anymore, he's very old actually. I said, Saul, what went through your mind? Why'd you waste your time in Harvard for that? All that money in school. He said, I devoted a few years of my life to mitzvah of kibud avayim. My mother wanted a son that's a lawyer. And now I was practical, I wanted to make a living. That's a very deep answer that he gave me. My mother wanted a son a lawyer. Dude, so I'm a lawyer, mazel tov. Not just a lawyer. Harvard with honors and everything. What could be better? So now she can brag to her friends when she goes to have coffee, and I could go make money, and everything's fine. Come Chazal and give a person an eitzi. You want to go pick a subject to study? Pick a subject that you like. Because if you're going to get into a field that you like, you won't resent your job all day. Then you'll want to wake up in the morning. You'll want to be at work. You want to be a productive member of society. If you're going to pick a subject that somebody else picked for you, or you're going to force yourself into doing something because you think maybe over there you'll make a few dollars, you're going to hate it. So what's it worth? Yeah, you may make a few dollars. But what type of life are you going to have? You're going to be miserable all the time. You're not going to want it. Pick something that you like. Pick something you can connect to. Pick something that has some meaning to you. Not to the world, to you. What do I like? What's going to make me happy? What makes me feel good? Unbelievable. There was once a gentleman, an Israeli boy, came to the United States of America, didn't really speak the language. Today, Baruch Hashem, in Israel, the boys all learn English right away, so even when they come to the U.S., they can join the workforce a lot easier. This kid wasn't that privileged. He didn't know the language. He was hanging out in Lakewood doing nothing with himself. So I told him, listen, you know Hebrew, maybe you want to learn Torah. This doesn't interest me. I said, fine, it doesn't interest you, so you're going to roam the streets, you're going to be homeless, what are you going to do? We have to find a solution. Tell me how we can help you out. What do you want? So he says, I don't know what I want. So I said, let's figure out what type of job you could do. He says, that's exactly the problem. I don't have a language. And as a result, nobody wants to hire me. He says, I can't even work as a cashier in a ShopRite. They won't take me. You got to know English. It's a basic. They're not asking for much. So what's the answer? What's the solution? To go learn English. So go to school to learn English. I don't have money. I right away went on the phone, put him into a school for English, paid it all in advance. Was hoping he would go for the next few weeks to learn at least the basics so he can get a normal job. Some job, anything. The guy lasted one day. That night he came to me, he says, listen, I'm going to tell this to you, but it's not for me. I sat in my classroom, I'm ADHD, I can't, it's 8 hours there. It's not for me. I said, but listen, I'm not fighting with you. I'm trying to help, I want you to succeed. I'm not telling you what to do, just English is a technicality. It's like saying breathe. I'm not forcing you to breathe. Just technically, if you don't breathe, we're going to have trouble. What should we do? They just find me something that I don't need a language. So I said, a few words in English you're willing to learn? He said, basic, a few words you have at school for a few weeks, that's too much for me. I said, you know what, I found you something. He said, what? I said, you won't believe it. A close friend of mine owns a barber shop. And he asked me today if I could get him a guy who's a good barber. I said, I remember in Israel I used to get much nicer haircuts than here. They had good barbers. So probably, maybe you know this. Do you know anything about giving haircuts? This guy's face shined. He told me when I was in yeshiva, I used to give 300 boys a year haircuts at least. One a day at least. That was his side money. I'm in! I said, but you still need a few words in English. You have to know how to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, thank you. And also you have to know the difference between a shape-up and a this, and a mohawk, and a this hawk, and a that hawk. You got to know all the hawks, a black hawk, you got to know them all. You got to know a mushroom, which type of mushroom. You got, there's different things you have to know. There's different things you have to know. He said, it's not so much, it's a few basic words, but he says, no problem. That much I'm willing to learn. So I called this guy back. I said, listen, I have an Israeli boy. This is a story. He says he gave 300-400 haircuts a year. Israeli yeshiva boys are pretty picky. Can't be bad. I'm not saying that you should use him if he's qualified, but he doesn't know a word of English. You're going to have to help him the first few days to figure it out. After that, a few basic words, he'll figure it out. Everything will be fine. I said, well, let me tell you a little secret. I told him. When I come to your haircut, you chew my ear off the whole time. I have no patience. He won't know English. He won't chew anybody's ear off. It'll be as good as could be. It'll be good for your business. This guy said, yeah, I'm in. It worked out. Pshat Torah. He got a job. He was making money. Life was beautiful. Maybe, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months later, 8 months later, I went in there one day for a haircut, and his face looked sad. I don't like seeing sad faces. I don't know. I have such an allergy. It's worse than my pollen and this and that. Sudafed doesn't help for it, unfortunately. Not Claritin, not Sudafed. So I told him, Tzaddik, what's going on? What's bothering you? So he says, I'm sick of my job. I'm burnt out. So I said, well, your boss is not nice to you. You're not making enough money. He says, I make great money. Everything's great. I said, so why are you burnt out? It's a stupid job. It's not for me. No offense. I know a lot of guys are barbers here. It's not personal. I love barbers. No, by the way, barbers today make more than lawyers, so, let's be real. Let's put things in perspective. At 18, 20 bucks a pop, clipping I don't know how many heads an hour, when we're getting paid in cash, Hashem Yerachim. Yeah, they have, no barbers have cement under their tiles in their house. I wonder why. Interesting. It always feels very soft also. But he says, says, no, I want. So I said, so what do you want? He tells me, I want to be something more. I said, what's something more? He says, I want to be a computer scientist. I said, buddy, I want you to be a computer scientist too, but for that you have to go back to Israel. Because over here you don't talk the language. I said, second of all, to be a computer scientist you have to know English whether you like it or not. And a very high level of English as well. So, just for the coding and everything else. So, you weren't even willing to go to school for 8 hours one day to learn English. And now you're telling me, he says, I know English by now, I picked up a few words. I said, no, don't work like that. And I'm trying gently to explain it, and it ain't going in. I left, he wasn't happy with me. What should I do? I tried. But that evening again, my heart was, poor kid is so sad. Hashem gave me an idea. I went back to him. I told him, listen, I need you for a service. I said, what? I said, you heard about Chaim Kanievsky? He said, of course I heard of Chaim Kanievsky, big rabbi, of course I heard of him. I made this up on the spot, it never happened. I said, he's coming to America. Chaim never left Israel, never happened. So he's coming to America, he's coming to Lakewood tomorrow morning, and he needs a barber to give him a haircut. Can we book your time tomorrow morning, right after Netz, when Chaim is done with the mikveh, to give him a haircut? He says, sure, what's the question? And now he wants to be a barber, everything's back to normal. I told him, Sadiq, if Chaim's not coming to America, we both know that. You're an Israeli boy. But I want you to understand something. If you're a barber, what does that mean? You're God's artist in this world. God put people, instead of them looking ugly, you're His artist to maintain that they should look beautiful. I said, you're a partner in God's creation every single hour of the day. I said, so what would be better? To sit all day with Intel chips and with computers? Or to be God Himself's artist? I said, so I think, even if we can get you into the university, you should stay in the barbershop. He's there already 7 more years since this story happened. Oh Hashem, I know he built a beautiful family with kids and everything, and he has a lot of money today. And every time I walk into him, he always tells me, Ani Oman Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm God's artist. What was missing that day when he was sad? He didn't connect to it. But when he got a chance to connect to what he was doing, suddenly, it's okay, there's a connection, there's a meaning to it. It's not just something meaningless. There's something that's a meaning behind it, there's some purpose to it. There's a rhyme or reason. I also want to be part of it, I also want to do it. That's what the Alta from Nevada teaches us over here. Comes the Alta and teaches us the words of Rashi, Yesh Dorshim L'Gnai. Some people, their whole life, they doresh on themselves L'Gnai. Oof, I hate this and I hate that and I hate 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 and I hate. Yesh Dorshim, but some people are lucky. The Shvach. They doresh their entire life as one big Shvach, as one big joy. What's the difference between the two? One does things like Avraham Avinu, that on his own went out to look to find what the reason of the world is. L'hakiret kono. The other person does things because he's at gunpoint. He has no choice. Because Baruch Hu should help that we should live life out of design instead of out of default. And Be'ez Hashem, like that, we'll have very, very happy lives. Liot b'simchat tamid. That's the main thing always.